Hello guys, welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about demons and Shinobis. So yeah, let's begin, shall we, ladies and gents? As we would see, Ardha would basically be holding up one of his, or her, or actually technically it should be non-binary. So it would start raising up its more, I guess, Shiva-like hands, as in, the blue side of her, or it. As he would say, or it would say, so, you're the one who absorbed Yote Volte's powers. It would say, and the reason why I'm going for Yote Volte is because, I recently started hearing some, other names for, Yahweh, and I think Yote Volte for Shin Megami Tensei, it makes sense, or at least kind of to me. So, as the other demon that Izuku summoned last episode, being that of Tiamat, would look at Dogen with rage and hatred, as it would say, "That thing, I will rip it apart for daring to hurt my children," she would say, as the serpents around her would start, snapping at the location of Dogen. As Dogen would say, ugly things. As he would raise up his hand again, this time releasing out, as another head would slowly start appearing, being that of a more demonic, horned face that resembled that of a devil, as it would start opening his mouth, as Dogen would say, "Now, miracle," he would say, as the blast of miracle, also known as, Almighty OP, because let's just say it wasn't fun when I tried to play I played a emulator for Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. Not fun! I especially hated that move specifically, because fuck you! Honestly, as it would shoot off a blast of energy coming from the mouth of the thing, as everybody would try to dodge the attack, as Izuku would look towards our girl Tiamat, as Tiamat would look at him as it would say, "Yes, I will eliminate it," she would say, "for my children," as it would start opening its mouth, as after doing so, it would chomp onto the attack, absorbing it. The reason why I did it is because, obviously, it's more fun, and besides, the idea of Tiamat eating that thing would just be hilarious. After swallowing the ball, yeah, anyway, after absorbing the attack, it would start growing in size, as she would start activating her own skill, being that of, as she would activate her personal skill, or passive skill, Tempestuous Malice. Not to be confused with any of the Malice-based moves from the Malice Demons, which, annoying to say the least, especially when they released Malice, Michael, which, by the way, ruined everything on PvP. Especially when it comes to the new collab. Oh god, why? Anyway, continuing on, as after activating the skill, she would start rushing towards the now exposed and somewhat weakened Dogen, as Dogen would try to dodge away, but before he can, the multiple, white serpents around Tiamat would rip into him, tearing apart his body, including that of his limbs. Doing so, he would scream out in pain, as everybody would be watching this. As Izuku would say, "My turn then," as he would get ready his arm, or more specifically his prosthetic arm. As Izuku would slowly start creating something from his prosthetic hand, as dark, almost demonic energy would slowly start swirling, as you'd say, Light Devour. After saying these words, a blast of energy that resembles that of a serpent with black lines with the purple with a purple like glow as it would rush towards Dogen. Dogen would dodge out of the way, but before he can, he would get struck by the serpent, biting into him, injecting something resembling that of poison or venom. Doing so, he would fall to the ground as he would start feeling the effects, feeling like his body is slowly starting to rot and start decaying. As Izuku would say, now, let's finish things off, he would say. After saying these words, he would start getting ready another attack, as this other attack would slowly start forming into his arm. As slowly around his hand, several symbols would slowly start activating, as he would say, your soul is mine. As after saying this, his eye would slowly start glowing a dark red, as he would scream out, Soul Levy! After saying this, he would rush towards him, as he would slam his fist right into his face. As slowly, chains of, I think it was called, chains of corrosion would slowly start activating. Was it corrosion? Let me just double check. I meant counts of decay, or chains of decay. After doing so, the attack would slowly start decaying him more, as you'd say, how dare you, you stupid child! As he would still be flying, but his limbs would be torn apart thanks to the help of Tiamat. As he would say, Arda, your turn. As Arda would say, very well, boss. As she would activate her skill. As the now Arda would activate her signature skill, or its signature skill, as it would slowly start dancing, as he would strike towards Dogen once again, or right now, as he would reach up using one of his hands to, or at least the Shiva hands, and would just slam into the ground, using the one that's holding the axe to slam the axe head right into his face, ripping it apart, as he would activate or name his skill, saying, Ruin and Grace. As doing so, he would use the other hand, now holding that of the flower, as he would create a blast of pollen, which destroys him. After doing so, it would somewhat be covered by the smoke, or should I say the pollen, of the flower, as everybody would be coughing, as one of them being that of Yomi would say, did it? Said a somewhat incredulous Yomi, as Ikage would say, it seems so. As while saying this, one other person would speak up, being that of Yumi would say, yeah, those were impressive attacks. I am quite curious about these demons though. As one of them being that of Minori in the background is playing with the, I guess you could say, demon dog, or at least half demon dog, as she's currently playing with its ears, as it's currently letting it gain the attention. As Minori would say, what is going on? She would say, as one of them being that of Yozakura would say, never mind, Minori. As before they can say anything else, a blast would interrupt their conversation. As Izuku would see this, as he would say, well shit, he would say. As he would notice, Dogen now changed again. Now much more monstrous. It would reveal Dogen's newest form, now resembling that of an amalgamation of all the creatures that were summoned by the blackened, almost purplish flames, as in the middle of it was Dogen, or at least that used to be Dogen. His face resembles that of a skull with horns on top of it, resembling that of a demon, as on top of his head, or at least in the back, was what seems to be the Ten Commandments, stabbed and ruined with multiple blades, spears, and other such objects, as his body almost resembled that of an insect or centipede, as multiple heads from different animal species would be screaming out in pain, as it said these words: "You humiliated me for the last time." As he would glare with purplish, dark eyes, as he would say, "Child of man." He would say, "Child of man, ye who dares stand before me, he who defeated me years ago." As Izuku would clarify, saying, "That was a few months ago. Actually, it's sort of half a year ago." As he would say, "You dare still mock me." As he would start flying up into the sky, revealing multiple wings, 10 each, on his back, as he would say, "I will not let you live," he would say, as after saying these words, 10, and I mean 10 angels would appear, resembling that of Metatron. In fact, they seem to be all all of them are copies of him, with differences. Instead of being white with gold accents, instead they're black with red accents, as he would say, "I will eliminate you. With this new vessel, I shall show you." As before he can say anything else, Izuku would say, "Alright, it's your turn." As he would say, looking towards Todoroki, as Todoroki would say this, "I guess it really is my turn. Though, why?" As he would say, "Beat them already. Besides, I want to see how strong you are after all these, after a while now." As she would say, "Very well then. Well, it seems I get to beat down you, Yotevate." As she would start up releasing her blades, revealing those blades to be, as it would reveal 2 different blades. One was massive and seems to have a large chakra, I guess you could say a chakra wheel, as in, like, the wheel that you usually see in, like, Buddhist, Buddhist based temples, as the hilt. And another seems to be just the blade is just a massive piece of rock. As these blades, as she would wield up one of the blades, being the one that has the almost Dharma wheel as the hilt, as she would say, "Yusaka sword." As she would wield up the other blade that seems to be flaming and burning, with a somewhat magma-like core as the blade, as she would say, "Elt Pilla." As after saying these names, she would slowly start walking towards the Yotevate, as Yotevate would say, "Prideful child of man, die!" he would say, as he would rush towards the child, aka, as he would rush towards Todoroki, as he would swing one of his, appendages, being that of a scorpion-like tail, as it would get ready to sting him, or her, as he would say, "God's malice!" As when he tried to strike, it did not work. As she would say this, "Now, Holy Union," she would say, as the blast of fire that burns everything on sight would slowly start burning him, as you'd say, "Why, you pagan!" As before she can say anything else, it would slowly start Dogen, before he can actually say anything else, would slowly see something else coming towards him, as she would say, "Primordial waters." as a blast of water would slowly start rushing towards him, as it would slowly start to freeze over, turning into ice, as it would freeze half of the heads, being that of the... Actually, is that a beaver head? Anyway, I'm gonna be ending off this episode right off here. So, yeah, bye-bye!